Good morning, Walter.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good, good. First and foremost, I want to thank you for your service, and thank you for coming in. We're going to proceed with this interview, and I see that you joined the Army back in the day. Did you enlist, or were you a draftee?
I was drafted in April of '69.
Okay. And where were you living at the time?
Here in Westminster on Union Street.
Oh, you've been here your whole life?
I was born and raised here, but I lived in Baltimore for 20 years.
Oh, okay. Good, good. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you chose the Army. Is there any specific reason why you chose the Army?
Basically because I was drafted.
Okay.
I mean, it's just the way it was, you know. Just,
Understood.
once you're drafted, you go where they send you.
Well, you recall your first days in service, landing down in boot camp?
I remember going on the bus or the induction at the induction center and going to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and getting off the bus, being hollered at the first thing, and you know, but it was an experience.
What were you feeling besides the anxiety of not knowing what was coming?
It's hard to say. You know, you're 19, I think it was 18 or 19 years old, 19 years old. And actually I was drafted along with some of my fellow guys from Westminster. So it wasn't that much of a clinch, whatever, you know. It's I knew some of the guys that were there, so it made it a lot easier.
Y'all went together to the same,
Yeah.
to the Army. Mm-hmm. Understood. Now, what were the best experiences in boot camp? I know some good and bad, and overall, as you move forward after that.
It's just the training that they give you and try to prepare you. The drill instructors were somewhat. They were some of them were nice, and then most of them were just hardcore. You know, so there were some good days and some bad days.
Any specific instructor stayed ingrained in your mind? And
actually, Sergeant Brown, Sergeant Salazar, they were very helpful. I remember one time we were going out on one of the drills, and you had to go through the sand dunes, and me being a small person, I was right up on the drill sergeant's heels, and he didn't take too kind to that. So, but I had told him, I see, because there was a thing that if you fell, you weren't supposed to stop. So I just kind of like told him, well, if you dropped, then I'm going to walk over top of you. And of course, he didn't like that very much, but it was good. It was all good.
That's awesome. Where exactly did you go? I know we said earlier you're a Vietnam veteran. After that, where'd you go?
I went to Fort Lee, Virginia, 76Y30, which is Supply and Arms, Small Arms Repairman, at Fort Lee, Virginia.
All right. And then from there?
I was assigned to, I went to Fort Hood, Texas, 6th of the 92nd Artillery, where I was in the arms room.
All right.
Arms repair.
And then when you went forward, when did you go forward to Vietnam?
Actually, I volunteered to go to Vietnam. It was, it's kind of like, it's not really easy to talk about, but a lot of my friends were coming down on the levees, and at the time I had a kind of a cushion job, and I had to 1049, which is a form that you have to fill out. It took a couple of them because I found out that the first sergeant was throwing them in the trash can. He didn't want me to leave, so I hand carried the last one and got them all signed so I can get out of there.
You went straight to the man?
Yeah, I went straight to the man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's very commendable.
Well, it's just, I felt as though I wasn't no better than any of the other guys that were being sent there, and I really felt kind of alone, so I just wanted to be a part of what was going on back then.
All right. Talk to us about your experience in Vietnam.
When I first got there, you went into Cam Ranh Bay and went through the training, the Vietnamese training. And then I was assigned to headquarters company 26th Battalion Combat Engineers up in Chu Lai. When I first got up there, it was monsoon season, and I really didn't know where I was, and couldn't figure out what was going on. So there's one story I tell that I went back and I was supposed to be on guard duty or doing something, and I went back to the hooch to change my clothes, and the guy came in and says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm changing my clothes." He said, "For what?" I said, "Because I'm wet." He says, "You're just going to get wet there." So because it rains constantly, 24/7.
Monsoon period,
Monsoon
yes.
season, yeah. So he said, just change your socks and your underwear and get back out there, wherever you were doing. So,
All right. Did you see any combat in Vietnam?
actually, I didn't see any combat.
Yeah.
Every day in Vietnam was living hell. We were in a area where it was called Rocket City, and Charlie would throw rockets anytime he felt as though that he wanted to do it. So that was scary.
That would get what's called direct fire coming in.
Yeah.
All right. And you said you were attached to a combat engineer company. I know that's a very hard job to do. I know you made a lot of friends. Any casualties out of that branch?
A lot of
out of that
casualties. Every
company?
time we went out there, someone got hit. If you didn't see that person, most likely he was killed or got hit. So there was a lot of patrols going out and a lot of digging, a lot of bridges, a lot of this, a lot of that. So
You develop good comradeship with the folks at the combat engineer company?
as I said earlier, there was a lot of racial diversion at that particular time, and either you stayed with your group or you just didn't go out of your context, basically.
Understood.
The brothers hung with the brothers and the Puerto Ricans, and
The segregation.
The segregation was, but it was all. It wasn't to the point that we didn't associate with them. It's just we felt that the closeness to keep ourselves together. In Vietnam, you hear so many stories about the Vietnamese and their propaganda, and they would always be telling that stories that, well, why the brothers are fighting for the white man and this and that, and so then you had the tensions back in the States on the protests
Yes.
and everything, and that made you feel a lot more uncomfortable.
Very difficult times.
It was.
All right. Now, being out there, you stay together probably amongst each other, help each other get motivated. I know with the fear that they may go out on patrol or do something and not knowing if they were going to come back. So I understand that. Now, how did you stay in touch with your family? How'd you get?
Actually, I didn't.
How'd you get used to it?
I didn't. I had first sergeant come to me, and either you sit down and write a letter down, or you're going to catch the blues, basically.
Okay.
I didn't really know what to say or what to do, and it's kind of hard to elaborate. You're in a war zone. You're 19 years old, and you're in another country, and then you have, like I said, you're worried about what's going back in the States, and then you're worried about what's going to happen tomorrow and things like that.
Yes.
So I was ordered to write home, and I did. And at the same time that one of my sisters got some of her girlfriends to write me.
There you go.
I did receive a Christmas package from the neighborhood, which they sent me it's a blow-up pink dog, and everybody signed it. So I thought that was really one of the best things that I could have received from home. You know,
That was probably a good morale booster there. Yeah.
it was to know that people cared about where you were and what was going on in your life, and it made me very proud. I carried that dog for a long time, and I don't know where it's at right now.
Now, probably had a very limited menu. What did you eat, or what did you like to eat? Did you have enough supplies while you were there? You feel that you were a unit was self-sufficient?
We had moved into a CB camp. We took over the CB camp, and we actually were one of the luckiest, I guess, units, because we had hot and cold water for a certain period of time anyway, until it ran out or whatever. But the food was, it was all right.
Yeah.
I received some food for Christmas. They sent in the package, you know, some things that I used to eat when I was back. So that I held on to those as much as I could. You know.
Canned goods?
No, they're basically sweets.
Sweets?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now you mentioned being lucky, having those facilities when initially when you took over the camp. Did you carry? Was there anything you used for good luck that you held on to every day?
When one of the brothers was leaving, he gave me a cross, and it was made by the mountain yards. They're villagers in Vietnam, and it had a symbol on it, and he gave that to me, and I wore that the whole time I was in Vietnam, and basically I wore it to a certain period of time when I got home. You know, I still have it. I just I don't wear it.
Okay. How did you entertain yourselves? Did any entertainers go out there?
Actually, we had some shows come through, not that often. There was one particular show that came through. It was the Miss Black America pageant, and this is just a picture of some of the young ladies that were in the group. And I don't know if you noticed, but there's nothing but brothers there. I mean, they brought the brothers out of the field for this pageant, and I have never thought I would see that many blacks in Vietnam. I mean, you know, you just, in your area, you see your people.
Your company,
your
yes.
company. But to see all these guys, and this is just a small picture of them, that when I looked out and I saw all these brothers that they brought in from the fields to see this show, and I'm down front, I felt like, you know, I'm
You're
the
a
man,
VIP.
you know what I'm saying? But I was blessed. I was actually blessed to be down front where we're right next to the stage. So I really appreciate the fact that they had brought these young ladies over there, and for us to see a good show. You know,
That's some great memories.
it was.
Yeah.
It's actually, I have a friend that's in my vet group, and he has the same pictures, and he said he's going to show them to me, but he hasn't yet to do that. But I believe that he was there because he is from the Americal division. I do a vet group every Monday in Pikesville.
Was there any type of, for morale purposes, any pranks y'all did, to get through, burn some time? Or?
No, I don't think that was too good of an idea to do some pranks. This is serious business. We've had some guys that got some Dear John letters, and they didn't handle it very well. So knowing that any minute somebody might fly off the handle, it's not a time to be doing any pranks or anything like that.
Understood.
You know.
I see you have photographs.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So you want to show us what you have?
Okay, this first one is my hooch, what I call it, my hooch. That truck is a deuce and a half, and I don't know if you see this part here is a, what do they call it?
Trench?
Well, it's a trench, yeah. Actually, when the rockets come in, you would jump down in there and try to, be
Take
cool
cover,
and everything,
yeah.
Like I said, that one was there. This picture here is me washing one of the tanks down in Fort Hood, Texas. I loved being in the artillery. There's a lot of experience with these tanks I never knew of, you know, except for when he went off, you know.
Did you get to ride any of them?
Yes, I did. I actually I had a picture of me driving one of these out of the, just to be washing, messing around. I wasn't a driver for that particular thing. I was an armor, which I meant I had to do, put the weapons on these and keep them in working order, you know, basically.
Operable, yes.
This picture here is a buddy of mine. I had slipped on some rocks and messed my ankle up. And so we were walking around for
Hobbling?
hobbling around the camp and everything. This picture here, and not to talk about the racial division, but we had some guys there that were really down to earth, I guess you could say. I guess you could say this is one of the days that we were goofing off. I actually there's a picture of no smoke in there, this ammo dump that we were tearing down, and we were walking around holding the sign up and just, you know, just trying to have some type of humor, a little bit of humor in that type of atmosphere, you know.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important that in the midst of chaos, you're able to find those moments to you know, to kind of decompress a little bit.
This picture here is my first Christmas in Vietnam.
Wow.
And my only one, because I was there from November to November.
Mm.
And,
Is that a soda you're holding in your hand?
Actually, I'm not sure what it is. I'm not too much of a beer drinker, but I think that might have been the day that I had one. You know, so.
Oh, it was Christmas?
It was Christmas, yeah, it was Christmas, and we actually had a guy that had a Santa Claus outfit that he was running around and half naked. So.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But you know, that's one of the things that you know, to take your mind off of.
The holidays, especially,
Yeah.
they're very hard on many.
It's very
Yes.
difficult. This is just a picture of some of the brothers that I was stationed with, and you can see that we do the para thing, and it was just having the closeness with your peers, you know, you guys that you have to live with, basically, you know, and take care of. So.
Okay.
And then this is just a picture of me painting a star on my deuce and a half. You know.
That was yours to drive around?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's a supply wagon. This picture here, I don't know if I show you that one again. I was from basic training out in the woods. So
What is that, a Springfield you're holding?
That's an M14.
M14?
M14,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of great memories.
I do have some, and there's some pictures of, we got hit with a typhoon, and I know a lot of people don't understand about weather and living in shacks, so this is what ended up being tore up, or hoosiers being tore up and things like that. That was very scary.
It's the wrath of Mother Nature.
The wrath
Yeah.
of Mother Nature, yes. Yes, it is. And
I see you have a picture there laminated. There
yes,
must be a special.
This is very special to me. On the 28th of October, we lost 5 GIs that drowned it. We were in the process of standing down, and this one young man, Donald Vaughn, he was a medic, and he was always in the bush. And when he came in for R&R or came out of the bush, he would sleep in my bed and use my wall locker. And on the 20th of October, they were playing football on the beach. The ball went in the water. Everybody went in. The undertow on the South China Sea poured under 5 of them.
Oh.
And he actually had went in, saved one guy, and then went back the second time and got pulled under. So this picture right here is basically what I'm trying to dedicate to for him. I've been in contact with his nephew after 40-some years.
Wow.
he had just blessed me with, I just bought a house, and he blessed me with coming to the housewarming on his birthday. And we talked, and we're in the process of trying to locate his sister, which she lives in New York. And we're trying to get together to have some type of closure. There's also another friend of mine, Benny Anderson. He lives in Colorado. He's a minister. And I located him, and we've actually met in Owens Mills, along with my son and a friend of mine. And it was after 40-some years and not knowing where this guy was, to see him, because he was actually from Baltimore. We just lost touch and everything, and we've been in contact.
That is awesome. To reconnect.
And reconnect and try to bring back some of the memories and things like that. So this is, like I said, very special, because I never got to pay my respects. I never knew what happened to him. I knew he died because I was getting ready to leave country. My zero date is 11 November, which is Veterans Day. So, and I never paid attention to it after all these years of the importance of my getting out of the service and then connecting with Veterans Day. You know,
Understood.
so I also have one picture here. That I was actually honored at Winters Mill High School. Thank you. About 2 years ago. I've always done the November 11th thing at the schools.
Yes.
And they actually honored me with these flowers in recognition for my Vietnam service. So I really appreciate Winters Mill for doing that.
And you earned it.
Well,
you definitely did.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. Now, after Vietnam, I mean, you came back. Did you separate from Vietnam? Did you come back to separate from somewhere else? How?
I came back to Fort Lewis, Washington, and we actually flew, I think, through Chicago or somewhere, and we weren't allowed to wear our badges, which was kind of heartbreaking.
Uniform as a whole, or anything?
Well, no, anything that had anything to do with Vietnam, basically your unit patches and things like that, you weren't. They told them to take them off because we had that particular time. It was a lot of protesting, a lot of people spitting on veterans and this and that. My unit was not really responsible. But you heard of My Lai?
Yes.
And that was the Murray-Cal division, and we had that label as baby killers.
Yes.
Which I had nothing to do with, but actually our unit, before I left, went into the land cleared My Lai. The combat engineers did. So
I read the story, and that warrant officer was a very brave man.
Yeah.
What he did. So how did you get through these weeks, months, coming back, probably feeling a fish out of water, probably, maybe? Tell us about that.
It wasn't easy. I'm full of stories. I was walking down Main Street, and of course I always had my Army shirt on or something like that. And the guy approached me and asked me where I'd been, and I said Vietnam. I just got home from Vietnam. And he says, "Oh, okay," and just walked away. It's not like people didn't really care. That's a stigma with that it carried on for years, and basically you just kept to yourself and kept it to yourself.
Understood. What did you do? Your line of duty after you came back? Did you go to school? Did you go to work?
I went back to when I was left, got drafted. I was working at Random House, and of course you have to hold your job when you come back, and I stayed there for a while. And I moved to Baltimore City. One of the things that I was doing while I was in Texas, I learned how to roller skate. And I actually worked at the skating ring on post and met a lot of young people, kids and things like that. And Before I left, when they found out I was leaving to go to Vietnam, I've never seen so many kids crying and just
Probably
kind of hurt. You know,
the influence you had on
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yes.
I became very fond of the kids that worked there, and I mean, that I skated there, and had a lot of friends there. That just something that I was trying to learn how to do, and actually, a little young white girl, she taught me how to skate backwards. So
Wow.
I appreciate the fact that she even took the time out to do that. You know, so.
I used to be a good skater back in my day, but we won't go there. Did you join any veteran organizations when you come back? Try to keep serving?
Basically, I didn't. I didn't really care until I started. Excuse me, going to the VA for help. Today, I do belong to the American Legion here in Westminster. I also belong to the American Legion Riders. I ride a motorcycle. I do belong to the DAV. And like I said, I do a vet group on Mondays for therapy, basically.
So what was your career path? What'd you end up focusing on? And
I don't know if I've always done warehouse work and supply or something like that, you know, so that helped me along the way with learn how to, you know, do warehouse and stock and things like that. So I always did some type of warehouse work. And I did do one of my jobs in Vietnam before I left. I went from the supply room to mess hall truck driver, and then I was Chu Lai Defense Command. I was driving the NCO around at nighttime, on the bunkers, trying to catch people sleeping and things like that.
Checking their posts.
Yeah. But today I'm a security guard at the Department of Social Services, which I've been in that position for about 18 years now.
Okay. Now, did your military experience influence your thinking about the war or the military in general? Did it?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to answer that question. I did what I had to do. I'm not sorry I did it. I'm actually proud of it. Maybe I didn't know what I was getting into, but it's a lifetime experience. I wouldn't put that past anybody. You know what I'm saying? If they're really dedicated about doing something in your life, you know, you just have to. If you don't experience it, how are you going to know what you're going to do?
True. So speaking of experience, how did your service and experiences affect your life?
Well, it took me a very long time to get myself together, basically. And
Trying to reintegrate back after the war?
yeah,
Yes.
and you know, I give everything to my Savior Jesus Christ, and I know God was watching my back and had He always has a plan for someone. But I never doubted for a fact that somebody was watching over me. There's another story that when I left to go, I was always friendly with the Vietnamese women, the hooch ladies, whatever. And the one particular one was Sue, and I would give her like cleaning things for her hair and toothpaste, and just trying to be nice to the people because they didn't really have those type of things. And when I left to go on R&R, when I left Chu Lai, and when I got in Da Nang, a Vietnamese woman walked up to me and said, "You friend of Sue?" I said, "Yes." She said, "No sweat, no problem. I got your back." Something like that. And still to this day, it puzzles me. How did this person know of this person? I don't know how many miles it was apart that they knew who I was.
Wow.
And it was awful strange. When you give people respect, and they accept that respect, you can get respect from anybody else. You know what I'm saying? If you dish that person, I guarantee you by the time you get to someplace else, somebody's going to be there waiting for you. You know, so that respect for the Vietnamese people in general, not just the women, just because there's a young man, Larry, and he was a translator, and he would always come around, and you know, if you don't kick a person when they're down, you know, you try to uplift them, and that experience has followed me through my lifetime, where you know, if you give that person respect, and you'll get respect in return.
Definitely.
So
that's real good stories.
well, it's
You know, and they were influential. I could hear it just you know in your life.
I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be. You know, very much be. But I have a lot of friends, and don't get me wrong when I say about the division about the colors and the whites and the blacks and things like that.
It was a different time back
then. It was just a period of time that that we had to deal with, you know, and we made the best of it. You know, I had some white friends, some very good friends. In my hooch, with the picture that I showed you, there's a young man. He was from Rocky Mount, North Carolina. He had his rebel flag on his side of his room, and I had my power flag on my side, and we never clashed. I had a picture of us together, but I don't know where it is.
Close living quarters, like that.
Close living quarters, but I have never disrespected him. He never disrespected me. I respected his views, where he was from, and he did the same thing with me. So it was a good experience. I mean, you did have your knuckleheads.
They're everywhere.
You know,
sometimes they come up.
Yeah.
Well, Walter, I really want to thank you for coming down to tell us your story. And God bless.
Thank you very much.